WarblesOnALot replies to Gary in Mendham, regards the old junk video. And because he's got me blocked, in order to deal with his comment thread, I also have to address this to the TheGzeus and IndifferentSky, formerly known as Theticketybooboo. Well, Gary, to begin with, woof. That's, I'm pretty sure, the noise of the wind going out of somebody's sails. Your reply to me was friendly. That was greatly surprising, and I'm obliged to you. Thank you very much for that. I don't think I've watched you critique anybody else's video and be as pleasant as you were to me. I mean, alright, you called me a shithead and a kangaroo molester and a few other things, but on the whole it was quite friendly and we agreed on several points. I was very, very surprised. Thanks very much. In fact, mate, I gave your video a like. And then, of course, I tried to make a comment and tell you that I'd given it a like, and of course, I got a bloody red line saying user blocked. Yeah, you got me again, mate. So, okay, I get the point. Whereas, I like the idea of comments underneath a video clip because it means that I can make a response to something that I've seen, and it might only take me 15 minutes. Thumbing away on the phone, and I can only upload 4 comments per hour. Whereas if I want to make a video response, I have to set aside, several hours at a stretch. I've got to think about what I want to say, make a few notes, have a couple of goes at recording it, and then upload it and edit the titles and settings. And if you've ever tried doing that with a thumbpad on a phone, it's not a minor effort. So to me, with very spotty personal message service, I'm lucky to get 3 PMs a day, otherwise, I'm back to the comment thread. So to have somebody like you who says controversial shit and then blocks me when I try to question it, yeah, it was bloody irritating, but okay, that's your viewpoint. It's a big universe. You don't have to think the way I do. I don't have to think the way you do either. Now, as I kind of half expected, you had a bit of a go at me for the fact that I'm celibate. Well, it's not that I can't get a fuck. It's just that I've got kids, and I don't think I would want to inflict a stepmother fantasy onto my children. And I've been a stepfather, so I don't think I want to try that one again because I was the stepfather from hell. In fact, my oldest stepchild, who would have been 30 years old today if he had lived, he killed himself a bit over 9 years ago. So, in order to give my kids the best chance at being as functional as they can be, I'm not going to inflict any kind of a stepmother fantasy on them. And the cosmic scoreboard effect is such that the last time a woman drove all the way out here to my place, came up my driveway, drank a couple of cups of coffee, made her pass at me, I was able to say to her, well look, not only are we 2 greenies that live 50 kilometres away from each other, and how much fossil fuel are we going to turn into atmospheric carbon while chasing the idea of a relationship, if it's a good fuck, if it's worth repeating, if we've got to cobble together a relationship. But I said to her, you got 2 kids to 2 different blokes. One of them's got gluten intolerance, the other one's got ADHD. Do they need a stepfather fantasy just to keep you happy? I said, my kids are fragile. They've just watched me and their mother go through a 9-year court case for custody. It's just a ridiculous idea. And I said, anyway, if you're not simply a temptation sent to me by the creator of the universe to see whether I'm serious, why the fuck did you show up on my 16th wedding anniversary, dearie? So I'm celibate by choice, mate. And I look like this because it keeps them at bay. Now, please don't be offended when I say that anti-natalism is a psychopathology. Yes, I suffer from some psychopathologies myself, narcissistic personality disorder with antisocial traits. It pays the pension. From my point of view, there's nothing wrong with being a nutter as long as you admit that you're a nutter, and as long as you don't attempt to inflict your nutty worldview onto other people who may not share the perspective. Now, Gary, I was pretty surprised to hear you say not that it can't be done to raise a kid, not to be a fuckwit, but that it can't be done without discomfort and it's too hard. Well shit, mate, I'm the fool on the hill, and the attitude is, if it was easy they would have got somebody else to do the job. I also want to say, Gary, thanks for not jumping on my head or kicking me in the balls over that handwritten typographical error in my movie. You're a noble gent under all the screaming bluster. And I want to say I'm not trying to tear down what you've built. I'm more trying to point out that you are pushing the council of despair, and it ain't all that bad. Really, it's not quite that bad. Okay, Gary, now I want to reply to the dingbats on your comment thread. First, I want to talk to the TheGzeus. Munchkin, you're a bloody liar. I responded to your query as to why you were tagged on my video on 2 separate comment threads because my PMs were not outgoing that day. Now, I forget what the first one was, but if you have a go at Forever Wolf Films on the thread underneath her clip about the Nintendo case she was trying to give away, I explained to you that the reason you were tagged was because I quoted you in that video and I thought it was polite to let you know, and I didn't have room to stick your name in the title. Alright? Now, go back and do your fucking research, you wanker. And then there's IndifferentSky, who used to be Theticketybooboo. Haha, Theticketybooboo. Don't tell fibs, girlie. My daughter took you at your word, and she took your comment, that quote, at the instant. While it's happening, the perception of suffering is paramount, unquote. And you later put forth the idea that that moment of suffering eclipses everything else that happens in a person's life. Everything before the moment of suffering, everything after the moment of suffering. Suffering's all that matters to you. And my daughter pointed out that you stated that in the moment of suffering, the perception is all that matters. And my daughter pointed out that drugs are capable of altering perception, and thus, during the instant, drugs may in fact be paramount over the suffering. And therefore your logic's got a great big fucking hole in it. That, dear Theticketybooboo or IndifferentSky, is all my daughter said to you. At no point did she ever say that rape on morphine is okay. So stop making it up as you go along. Now, as for whatever you say to your children, I got to say to you that for a child, the world is a scary enough place without having to worry about the idea that their parents didn't want them, that they were an imposition onto their parents who were busy playing some other trip. Now, I might have had a dud marriage, and it's still going. I haven't divorced her, you know. I keep her on the books to frighten other bitches away. But at least my children know that at the moment of conception, both their mother and their father thought that we could make a go of it and have a happy marriage and raise a happy family. If you're seriously planning on telling your kids what Gary suggested, that, oh, well, you know, mummy was a slut and didn't give a fuck and couldn't care about what was happening, and then you come along and now we're just making the best we can do with the situation, but, you know, don't ever have kids because it's bad to have kids because life is suffering, I think you are going to damage your kids. I think it's more better if you tell them that mummy loved them and wanted them at the time, and still loves them and wants them now. But I got to say, Tickety, you have kind of fallen in my estimation for the way you have lowered yourself to lie in the comment thread, as well as blocking me. You know, like you and the TheGzeus, pair of fucking bullshit artists. And Gary, well, okay, we differ on how to deal with our varying personal psychopathologies, but I got to admire you, because at least you're bright enough to realise that living in towns and cities, Freudian slip, living in towns and cities is a crock of shit and a silly way to raise kids. So you have a nice day, Gary. Ciao.